Rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Always Receiving Noor, Ramadan Quran study. We have been looking at short surahs from the Quran, and today we will look at Surah 102, At-Takathur. And is there anyone who wants to share anything from this week? This past week, we had read Surah Al-Qari'ah, the knock, and had a reflection about the significance of our lives, given the fact that it's so fragile, and given the fact that what we tend to forget is always there, our finitude and death. Is there anyone who wants to share anything from this past week? Any Quran reflection or anything that you made connection to your life from the study?
Last time the question that we discussed was what would you do, or what becomes important, or just imagine for a moment if you live only 1 week longer compared to 5 months longer that we had at one of the earlier surahs. And it was that personal relation becomes much more important than compared to let me finish that project.
That's true.
And what does that mean to you?
Do you mean to me personally?
I mean, does it change the way you look at your interactions with people, the way your attitude to relationships?
Yeah, you realize it in the projects, even whenever you work with people, what is important is the relation to the people. And if you can give something to them, if you can avoid hurting or harming or doing damage.
Yeah, and for me, I remembered this couple times this past week, and really it changes the way I would perceive certain comments or certain interactions with people, because it's easier to go away from ego-centric attitude if we remember that we are finite, and any moment, we can leave this world. We're fragile, and we have a mission here, and it's at the door. It's a knock at the door. It's not far. And all of these things that we take for granted is actually very fragile. That the mountains being left like fluff. And it does, when remembering that really slows down the ego, and because ego always wants to push for itself in a way that's not appropriate, and it's in a way that's illusional. I'm in the center of the world. No, you are not. And only my needs matter. No, not just your needs. Everybody's needs matter. So that perspective is hard when you're just in that cloud with ego, that forgetfulness cloud. But once you remember Al-Qari'ah, that thing that's knocking at the door, and it's there, and it's present, and what we take for granted is actually fragile. Even the mountain and all the wealth or status or whatever we are indirectly worshipping in our lives is actually so fragile, and itself is a creature. Then that enables us to go above the ego. Then ego kind of realizes, why should I push for myself? I am myself fragile. No, I'm not in the center of the world, and that's good. Something else is at the center of the world. This beautiful names of God, His beautiful qualities of His wisdom and power. That's at the center of the world.
No, I cannot talk. I know that. I cannot talk.
So with that, Is there anybody else who wants to share anything from last week? Yeah.
I always I was not here last week, although I was here, but I couldn't get up. But as you're saying this, you realize that what Andrea also was saying is that we always get so focused on the details of things just to get the task done, and it's very rare that we focus on what's behind the task, like why am I doing this task? And when you say there's a week left or a very short time left, the task itself, sometimes you can find that, oh, I don't need to do this task to achieve what I want to achieve, right? So I think it's a good exercise to ask ourselves, what would change if I had a very limited time in doing all of these things that I get obsessed about. I get obsessed about all these tiny details. Would any of them change if I had a week? Would I still be obsessed about all of these details? What would I do different? Mm-hmm. So I think it's a great exercise.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that stayed with me, or I'd like to think it stays with me, is that it doesn't mean we become disengaged in a way that, I was going to paint this room, but since I'm going, somebody else can paint. Let me do something else. Not that kind of a thing where I'm not interested in this painting anymore because I won't be able to enjoy it. I won't be here. I don't need, it doesn't really matter. I was going to paint it for the next couple years, but if I'm not going to be here next week, I decided not to paint. Not that kind of reorganization. We still do things that we think are worthy doing. It reminds me of the prophetic hadith that says, if you have a sapling in your hand and as you're planting, the day of judgment comes, continue planting it, finish planting. So it's not about, oh, the day of judgment comes, it doesn't matter because this tree won't grow. No, it's something worth doing. Continue doing it, even if you have little time. Even if the entire universe has no, the world is kind of falling apart, you do this, you complete that. So if you were going to paint that wall, you can still paint that wall, but why are you painting will be different. Or maybe instead of painting that, you should go check on your neighbor whom you have been meaning to check on, but you didn't check on for so long. So the priorities definitely change. Certain things we may stop doing, but it doesn't mean we will stop everything possible because we're going and we don't need to do it. I don't need to clean this room anymore, even though it's dirty. One more week, I can survive. I'm going anyway. Not that kind of shift. It's more a shift in the way in which we give value to things. What is important in my life, then it takes priority than all the other things that may be cluttering my life. And the attitude changes. You're still interacting with the same person at work or whatever, but the way you look at that person changes. In one of them, it's very egocentric. I'm independent, she's independent, we are in a war, or I need to compete. And then when you remember the dimension of akhirah, that there is an eternal world, real, and I can go any minute. And that changes, that gives eternity to the decisions I'm making now and the way I'm interacting now. What do you think, Dr. Yamina? So let's turn the microphone to Sister Yamina to lead us into today's session. And if you want to add anything to our sharing in the beginning, please do so. And Jazakallah khair.
Thank you, Isa. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم اجعل في قلبي نورا وفي لساني نورا واجعل في سمعي نورا واجعل في بصري نورا واجعل من تحت نورا واجعل من فوق نورا وعن يميني نورا وعن يساري نورا واجعل أمامي نورا واجعل خلفي نورا. آمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. So Inshallah, all these topics will come up again in this surah, Surah at-Takathur, the piling up, the amassing, which is also the 102nd chapter of the Quran. So Surah at-Takathur is a surah that we repeat a lot in during the prayers, since it's a short surah, 8 ayahs. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. So it's saying you are striving for more, or striving for more has distracted you. You are distracted by striving for more. You are obsessed by greed for more and more until you go down to the graves. In time, soon you will come to understand. Surely, or for sure, very soon you will come to understand, to know, ta'lamun. If you could but understand with a knowledge of certainty, an understanding that is born of certainty, you would indeed most surely behold the blazing, the fire. In the end, you will indeed most surely behold it with the eye of certainty. It means you will see it certain and you will be sure. And on that day, you will most surely be called to account for what you did with the blessings of life means the blessings that you enjoyed. And here is na'im instead of ni'ma, and na'im is like rahim, it's something that is constantly flowing to you. In Surah Al-Qari'ah, as we just mentioned, we reflected on the meaning of the scales. If you remember, there were the scales being light or heavy, depending on our stand in life. And these scales described the outcome of our life. And we said that depending on our attitude, our perspective of life, either we were aware that everything is an ayah, that everything is reflecting the eternal, beautiful names of God and Isma al-Husna, and therefore looking to akhirah, to eternity, to the permanent world, or we remained unaware. We lived our life in ghafla, and we were stuck in the world itself for its own sake, without any connection to the world of the unseen, alam al-ghayb. In the first way, when we are connected to our Rabb, when we are aware of our being fragile, abd, being a guest of this generous host, our life bears the results that weigh heavy on the scale. And they weigh heavy because we find that aspect of things that look to eternity, that look to the divine names, that look to something that is very heavy. Whereas when we live in ghafla, in unawareness of our Rabb, even if we acknowledge in our daily life, we forget about that reality. We live in disconnection with that reality. Then we don't long for wajh Allah. We don't seek the aspect of things that look to the divine names. We don't see His face in everything. And so our life bears results accordingly. They are light because all our disconnected from it. It's all in itself, impermanent. It's all passes away, perishable. Like in Surah Al-Rahman, كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. Whatever is on earth and in the heaven. Whatever exists is in itself, it passes away and it perishes, except the face of God, except that aspect of everything that looks to God, to his attributes and names, to looks to eternity, to akhirah. And so because it is perishable, because it passes away, it can't weigh much. Actually, it weighs nothing in itself without that connection. But with that connection, it weighs very heavy. So the criteria is not big or small, little or a lot, but is this connected to our Rabb or not? What matters is not the quantity of what we do, what we pile up, but the quality. And the quality here is not the quality of the thing itself. The quality comes from the connection to our Rabb. Because things themselves, they are neither, they like painting the wall in Isra's example, in itself, is it bad or good? It depends. What matters is when I have that awareness of being a abd, living in the presence of my Rabb, then what matters is going to change. Why am I painting that wall? Is going to change. And so we also talked about seemingly small things like feeding someone, or for ourselves, if we start with ourselves, drinking clean water, having access to clean water and being able to drink it, like being healthy enough to be able to drink it. All these are gifts from our Rabb, and gifts means that they remind us that we are guests here in this life.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
It's just because looks like I can't concentrate if I don't say what I want to say. When I read this surah, I noticed that I thought this is describing others and not necessarily me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are these people who clutter and collect and hoard and the so-called messies. Mm-hmm. But I thought that's really not me, but it's talking about me as well. So that means we just all have that.
Mm-hmm. And the cluttering here is not only goods, right? Not only material things. It could be information, knowledge, it could be status, whatever we want to have more of.
So it's more that people that we see that really hoard a lot are more a reminder for ourselves that we may not do that kind of certain things. But
actually, in the previous surah, if you remember, it was he, the impersonal. Whoever does this is the end. The scale will be heavy, or the scale will be, if the scale is heavy, he will have a blissful, peaceful life. Otherwise, he will end up in fire.
It was third person.
It was the third person, but here it starts with al-hakum, you, piling up and amassing has distracted you. It's talking to us directly. Because in the previous surah, it may seem like, okay, the third person, some people do this, that's where they end up. And here it's saying, you know who ends up that? When you do this, that's what you end up there. And this is, I'm still talking actually about last ayah, so I haven't come to this here, but so last week what we said is that gifts are ayat means they make us wonder about who our Rabb is. what is the purpose and wisdom in sending us into this world, being sent into this world. And we gave also the example of breathing with ease, and realizing how precious life is, and that life is a gift that is constantly breathed into us. Constantly it is sustained. So the na'im is something that is constantly we are blessed with. So life is not given to me when I'm born only. Anytime, if I stop breathing, there will be no life. I won't be in this world anymore. And that breathing, I cannot sustain it myself. So I am being given that life constantly. What is this for? What is it given for? And so we seek help and guidance. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. We ask you for, only from you we ask for help. And we worship you, we ask for help, and we ask for guidance.
And I think I need to make a statement. In both of these surahs, there is this, if only you would understand, if only you would know. And this kind of thing, I don't feel I understand that completely. That approach, the meaning of that kind of speech sentence.
Okay, so when we read Takathur, we will talk about it, inshallah. So what is the in Surah Al-Qari'ah, or the previous surahs as well, the alternative to living in that awareness of being fragile and vulnerable, and being in need, and being constantly sustained, and therefore who is sustaining me, is the alternative is that we live in delusion. And it's delusion that results from being unaware of what's going on, because we are unaware of our needs, because we want to avoid that vulnerability. So because we are unaware of our needs, we are unaware of how great blessings we've been blessed with now as we are. And so therefore we don't appreciate them. And we long for imaginary happiness, imaginary success, imaginary peace. And we imagine that we will get it when we get more of one thing or the other. These things don't have to be material things, material possessions. And so, as Isra reminded us, there is nothing wrong with things themselves. In themselves, they are ayat, they are a ni'mah. But how I view them, how I perceive them, what I believe them to be is going to make the whole difference. They become either a means to know myself and my Rabb, and a means to walk, to tread the straight path, the path of praising my Rabb and living in his presence, or the means to forget about him and get totally immersed into the world, in itself, for itself, hoping something from vulnerable, fragile things like myself, things that are perishable and perishing like myself. And that's why we often, if you stop and think about it, we delude ourselves, and we believe if we have this or that, if this hadn't happened, if my child was like this, if my friend had said this, had not said this, we are always in an imaginary world of if, instead of focusing on what is right now. We are not satisfied with what is right now because we don't stop and stay with that reality. We're always avoiding it. And the price is that we live in the delusion. And if we stop, we talked about it many times, if we stop, we will see what will happen, what will open up. But we have this fantasy that we will be happy, we would fulfill our life, our goals, if there are lots of ifs going on in our life. And we will ask, how can something that can't help itself do anything to me? Just because I have more of this, how is it going to change my life? Unless I, of course, you say, but it does change something. If you're hungry, it's not the same as if you are full. If you're ignorant, it's not the same as if you are knowledgeable and educated. Yes, but what do you do with that? If you just die with it, at the end, it's not a big deal. But if you can, it does make a difference when we use it for the purpose of that it was given to us for. Yes.
Yes, and I just wanted to add how people who study culture, even without the perspective of the Quran or revelation, when they look at the consumer culture, that's even they see that there's something deeply unhealthy about it. It's not about, the problem is not about consuming. We do all, eat and drink, but consumerism. I had once listened to a presentation on this, and one of the things the scholar was saying is that the problem with consumerism is that it doesn't have an end to it, in the sense that if you get this, immediately you need to get the next one, immediately get the next one. There is no point at which you will say, okay, now my needs are met, now I can take a breath and I enjoy this. No, you need to always, you get this, and then instantly you need to get the other thing. It has no end to it.
It becomes the purpose itself.
Yeah,
the purpose.
and then what you have just said, the idea that you are being in the present, no, it's always delayed to something else, and it doesn't have an end. You cannot say, I'll build this house and then I'll live in this house. No, it has to constantly, and that non-stopness about it, and that it doesn't have an ultimate, the ultimate is to keep looking for something else, buying something else, consuming something else, and in the act in itself, as it
doesn't fulfill another purpose.
Yeah, and
there is no satisfaction because you're just running after something.
And never presence, saying that you actually are grateful for this and you stay with this. No, you need to immediately, that's the consumer culture, that you have to consume. But it in itself is not going to give you happiness. You need to consume so that you can consume the next thing. So, the person wasn't offering a great alternative necessarily, but in itself, there is something unhealthy, deeply unhealthy about it, because, as you were saying, it makes the means into an end. Consume, what is the sake of consuming? For what? Where is this taking me? Nowhere. Consume more, and then die. And that really ties into the surah, because the surah is saying you want more, and what will happen? What is the fulfillment with it? Where are you getting with it? To the ground. To going deep into the ground and decaying. Is this where you're going? So it's really making a space. The emptiness of what we're doing.
Hello, Isra, you are done? Yes. I just wanted to make a point that, this greed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in us, so all we have to do is divert it instead of this world trying to collect as many hasanah as we want, if you rationalize with that, but most of the time we forget this. So the greed is there, but we just have to put, what's the right word for it? The defense mechanism. You just have to divert it to the akhirah, like the Sahaba, used to do. Collect as many hasanah for the akhirah. That's very tough to do, actually. It's very easy to say.
Actually, the word itself here used is an ayah itself. It puts us on the right track. The word used, the Sura at-Takathur, starts with al-Hakum at-Takathur. And al-Hakum is a verb. It says, this has distracted you. Al-Hakum, the verb, is from lahu. And lahu is entertainment, pastime, amusement, usually translated. Lahu. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَعِبٌ وَلَهُ. usually translated as amusement or pastime.
Yeah.
And
the problem is this, that brains, when we are doing Quran right now, we are very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and everything. But once we finish this and go back to our normal life, then, the brain can do only one thing at a time. So that's why I don't know how to compromise.
You said this before, Sister Esma. The thing is not two things. That's what I had said that time. We are not doing, it's not dunya and akhirah. What the Quran is teaching us is a new perspective. It's a transformation. It's finding akhirah within the dunya. It's finding the permanent within the impermanent. Is perceiving the things that we thought were things on their own haphazardly. They are the ayat. They are the creation. They are like mirrors reflecting the divine attribute, showing us the way back to Alam al-Ghaib, showing us back the way to the source of all the blessings that they are. So it's not two things, it's again one thing. So as I am cooking Bismillah, in the name of God. It means everything, whatever aspect you think about it. The blessing that I'm cooking is a gift from God. My ability to be there, the health and everything is given to me. All of them becomes means of remembering, of making a dhikr. And I marvel at how my hand, I just intended to do something, and subhanallah, it has been given at my service. Sometimes I'm very sick and I can't even lift it. And bi'idhnillah, not only I lift it, but it does so many things. When you're driving, don't you marvel? It's like angels are doing it for you. You just intend and everything is done for us. So it is, we have to learn to live in the name of God. Bismillah. Bismillah, it means Bismil Razzaq, Bismil Hayy. I marvel at my breathing. Subhanallah. I can do it. I have no idea how it is done. I can learn in science book how it is done. Last week, Isra was telling me about the heart, how it pumps, I don't know how many tons of blood every day, and it's done through very, very small scoops of very small amounts, and it ends up with tons. I don't know how many times it's beating and doing that, and I have no idea. And even if I have an idea, I don't know how to do it. And I just marvel, and I remember, and I prostrate in front of my Rabb. And I remember also how fragile I am, because so many things are going on for me to be as I am, like for the world to be as it is now, and none of it is neither within my power or knowledge or control or anyone else's. So I know all this points to and reflects the power and knowledge and compassion of the host of our Rabb. So it's still again one thing. It's not like I'll do my dunya and then let's pray 2 rak'ahs or give some charity for akhirah, if you see what I mean. I give charity in the name of God, and I eat in the name of God, and I buy something for myself in the name of God, and for my neighbor who is in need in the name of God, and all of them become a means for ubudiyah.
Yeah, the reason I brought this up because Sahaba Ikram also asked the Prophet ﷺ this question, that when we are in your company, we are very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then when we go home and get busy with the family, we forget. So the Prophet ﷺ said that this is the way it is. If you were thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time, then the angels would come and shake their hands with you, you know.
But that's not about forgetting totally. It's about the level. You know, you are totally, completely there, or not totally there. But it doesn't mean there is, you can completely forget and live your life as if there is no akhirah. Or you already set up your life for akhirah.
So even if you are not totally present all the time, it's like you pray 5 times a day, whether you forget or not, whether you are totally present in one prayer or not, you're still maintaining the prayers, you're still maintaining the charity, the direction, the istiqamah is what matters. Sometimes you go slow, sometimes fast. When we are together, it's like everything is going faster, but the istiqamah, the direction of one's life is what matters. Because if I'm going into the wrong direction, whether I come and read the Quran and reflect or not, is not going to make a difference in my life until I make the intention and choose to change my istiqamah. What is my goal in life? What do I live for? This is my istiqamah. Then I may sometimes forget, but still, it's like I am. The example may not be a very good example, but just it's just to make it easier to understand. Yeah. Once I start in a school, I'm going to be it's medical school. I'm going to be a doctor. Maybe I go every day, but one day I'm ill. One day something happens and I miss class. Yes, but I'm still
enrolled.
I'm still enrolled in that school.
Yeah.
And even if I don't finish in the, let's say 6 years is how long it takes, even if I end up finishing in 7 years, I'm still there, I'm enrolled, I'm doing what it takes, even if sometimes I work hard, sometimes not as hard. So I don't think the Sahaba is, we are still enrolled, but we are not always working very hard. But here we are talking in this surah, we're talking about we need to get enrolled. We need to make sure they get clear about our istiqamah, about our purpose in life.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, the broader picture, like everything becomes an ibadah. Your intention is right. Even sleep is, becomes an ibadah.
Yeah.
Sister,
here the one. Sorry?
Sister Yamina, I wanted to share a verse. The reason I'm doing is this verse is about people who used to okay, I'll read the verse first, then I'll explain how I think it's related. So this is from Surah 7, verse 74, and in the original it reads as واذكروا إذ جعلكم خلفاء في الأرض من بعد عاد وبوأكم في الأرض تتخذون من سهولها قصورا وتنحتون الجبال بيوتا فاذكروا آلاء الله ولا تعثوا في الأرض مفسدين. In as a translation it reads as, and remember how he made you heirs to the tribe of Ad and settled you firmly on earth so that you are able to build for yourselves castles on his plains and hew out mountains as dwellings. Remember then God's blessings and do not act wickedly on earth by spreading corruption. What was interesting to me in this kind of verses, and there are other verses about different people who did incredible stuff in terms of their civilization, and then sometimes they oftentimes they reject God and they are destroyed. And I used to think until this Ramadan, for some reason I thought they were rejecting God and they were too much involved in the world, doing all these things and carving things from the mountains and then all this sophisticated stuff, but too much focus on the world, and so they were destroyed. But then this verse, this kind of verse I came across this Ramadan, and I was like, this is so interesting because the verse doesn't say you were doing all these things and you forgot prayer, you spent too much time on these things. No, it doesn't say. It just says you were able to be, you were given the capacity to do all these. You were able to build yourselves castles on its plains and hew out mountains. You're carving things from the mountains and building these castles. Remember then God's blessings. It doesn't say, now give these up. No, just remember, don't do it for its own sake. Don't do it for consumerism's sake. See it as a ni'mah, as something, a blessing that is reminding you of your creator. So that, I know maybe it's a bit late in my life, but like this Ramadan, it just hits me that I used to see it more like binary, and it's not like that.
What is important though is, would we spend, would you can ask, everyone can ask themselves, would I spend so much energy on building the best, strongest, most beautiful building, unless the person is, for instance, an artist, the way as he's building, he's making tafakkur. He's getting to know God as a sani, as the artist, as the one who builds. Unless it is the means for that, would I start piling up things and saying, because I am going to make more and more hamd, I'm grateful. The more I have, the more I'm grateful. There is a limit to that, because it can be a trap as well. And who would know? Only the person themselves. If the clearer I am about my purpose in life, the more I will be able to keep the balance between the ni'mah and spending how much energy I spend to get it. Remember Yusuf alayhi salam, he was given at the end, he was given control of all the wealth of the palace and everything. He was given access to it. However, he did not spend his life, that was not his aim in life. He didn't go and let's do business or a campaign, a political campaign, so I'll become the finance minister or something like that. He was put there, it was given to him. So when it is given, it is a blessing, and as you said, you are grateful for it. But if you leave everything and you I make it my goal in life, so that afterwards I become grateful, then I am deluding myself. Like Ali said, when we did exercise about, if I have only 1 week to live, and if I'm going to, which means that if I'm going to die in a week time, then maybe some things that I thought I will do it in order to have this or that, maybe I will realize that I don't have to do that in order to be happy. I will do this.
And both is possible. You are right, Yamina, in that what you're saying, that only the person can know.
Yeah.
Because it can be that I'm writing the next deck paper because of greed, or it can be that I want to write it because I'm following my inner path. Or
everyone is going to check for themselves, because you are going to be, it's going to be made easy anyway. You will know. How would you know? Because سَيُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. But before that, I have to be clear and confirm al-husna.
Well, Muhammad has one of his grandmothers who was married 11 times. Again, it can be because of greed, or it can be because of the inner path, right? We don't know. She knows.
Mm-hmm. You don't know. I mean, you can only know for yourself. Is it? This is in my path and it's easy, I'm doing it, or is it my goal in life? If it's my goal in life, I am getting out of the Surat al-Mustaqim. I lost my direction again. So what do? we keep making istighfar and coming back, making tawbah, inshallah. So I just want us to keep that balance, and that balance will be, inshallah, made easy as we are clear about our direction. That's why the focus here is, and the emphasis is made on that destination. Where are you? Who are you? Where are you going?
I like I like the steps of like the niyyah, and then the second step would be maybe the ihsan, like doing it with beauty. So maybe step 1 is niyyah, and then step 2 is ihsan, like doing it aware that Allah is receiving it directly from you. And then step 3 is being grateful for the ease that it's coming with. So for example, alhamdulillah, may Allah give you all this, the barakah to you, Yamina. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's so many things that I always tell you, Yamina, this looks very difficult for me, and for you, mashallah, it will look easier. And of course vice versa, something else that maybe would be easier for me. And I think the idea is that when we realize that it's easy for us to be grateful for that ease, and to be thankful that there is something that we can do that is being made easier for us to help, or to to have an impact, or to reach out, or to to be on the path, or to fulfill the path that we believe that Allah has made for us. So I think the key is that when we realize it's easy, that we don't boast about, this is easy for me, I'm so smart, or I'm, but to be so thankful that it has been made easy for me to do this. And one of them is related to you, this is because I have this gift, and I'm so lucky with this gift. And the other one is, alhamdulillah, this is for the gift that the giver has given me, and I'm so thankful for that gift. And every time I enjoy the ease, it should take me back to the giver. So I guess then that, when things are done, then your niyyah in it, and how you enjoy that it's been made easy for you, and who made it easy for you becomes the differentiation between, why are you doing it? Are you doing it to be more famous? Are you doing it to be more known? Are you doing it to accumulate? Or are you doing it because it's been made easy, and every time it's made easy for you doing it, you're thankful that there was something that was made easy for you to do and pleases Allah?
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, but I understood that a little bit different, that ease. So there was these verses that we talked about before, the short surahs, Al-Lail and close to them, and there was easy will be made a path towards ease. And to me that was, so if I have only 1 week to live, or 6 months, then I will come up with something that is important for me. And that might be not something that is important for you, and that might be something that you even find completely stupid. And there's also, and we often tend to close what we actually deep down really want, because we think it's not appropriate, or first I have to work and then whatever. So I understood that more, and it might be sometimes difficult to figure out what is your deep down calling. For example, like Yamina understood that what she wants to do is this kind of stuff, and then why shall she be on on a traditional university position, but would I be brave like this? So the process of figuring out what is my calling might be difficult. But once I get a glimpse from it, and once I get a feeling for what is my path, then it will be made easy, although it might be not liked by other people. So that easiness was, at least I understood it as an answer to, it might be at first sometimes difficult to figure out what's your calling.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's totally possible. What matters is, at the end of the day, are we seeking things for themselves, things including not only material things, but it could be a project, a career, an emotion, a feeling, a state of being, even peace itself. Are we seeking it itself? Because if we are seeking it itself, it is not lasting. It will be like a mirage. It will be the moment we think we got it, we will see that it disappears. Because everything is fragile, everything is finite, everything is transient, everything is impermanent. So what makes us truly, gives our heart true tranquility and peace and joy, what makes us truly satisfied is not the thing itself, but the fact that it is a gift. Yes, we want peace, yes, we want justice, yes, we want compassion, but the fact that it is lasting, and also in Alia's examples, if something is made easy for me, I can boast about it and I'm very good at this. Yes, but deep down, I know that, okay, so if I'm going to die tomorrow, so if I'm very good at it or not. It does not satisfy the heart. However, when I know that it is a gift, when I am present to the reality that right now and marvel at it, subhanallah, there are many people who can't solve this. How am I made to solve it? And I marvel at the gift that makes me the honored guest, the guest that is gifted. That compassion, that attention is what we, that compassion, is that what we crave, we need, and what truly fulfills our heart. Not only it's given, but it is given all the time. It is given by a host that is so generous, so compassionate. So it's not like today it's here today, but tomorrow we never know. Tomorrow I'm again an orphan. That feeling like an orphan without anyone, alien, estranged in the world, without any ties to anything. That's that fear that gives us lots of fear and anxiety, and we feel like we're not worth anything. But through our connection to our Rabb, we also discover our connection with everything else. Bismillah, in His name, everything else is like us. We become like siblings, not only with humanity, but with everything else. Everything is being sent to the help of everything else. That cooperation, that being togetherness, that interconnectedness becomes a something to celebrate, to in the name of God, something to be grateful about, something that will take our anxiety. It's the sign that someone is taking care of everything. So don't worry, you're taken care of. You're not an orphan, you're not alien. You are the abd of Rabbul Alamin. And that's what we need the most, more than the thing itself. The thing itself is what starts incites our curiosity, our interest. It attracts our interest, so we want more of it. What Isma was saying, that greed, of course, whatever we are given as human emotions, they are all to be used in a proper way. So that greed to know more, to have more, is given to us so that we seek the source of all. We seek Rabbul Alamin, because it's not satisfied when we seek it in the finite, in the perishing, fani, worldly things. But when we we use them as a means to find the eternal source of the generosity and the compassion and the hospitality and everything, the givingness, then that greed will have fulfilled its one of its purpose of being given to us as well. The verb here is also interesting because al-hakum, as I said, it's from lahu, distraction, amusement, entertainment, and ilha, the masdar is ilha, distraction, diversion. You're diverted from something, and it appears a lot in the Quran as lahu. إنما الحياة الدنيا لعب وله, and also like in Surah al-Munafiqun, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهيكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله. So it says, "Oh, you who believe, who have believed, let not your wealth nor your children distract you, divert you, distract you from dhikrillah, from remembering God." So the verb here is distracting from something that is unimportant, or at least less important, from something that is important. So there is already a sense of delusion in it, because I am confusing. I am being distracted from something important to something less important. I am driving on the highway at 70 miles per hour, and I'm distracted by the child behind in the rear seat. I'm talking to him, doing something. It's dangerous. That's al-hakum. And of course, here it is what is the subject of the verb is what is distracting and deluding you, deluding us, is a takathur. And kathir, kathara, is plenty, a lot, abundance. And takathur is the desire to have a lot. It has also a meaning of competing in having a lot, in amassing, piling up a lot, and showing pride in possessing a lot. And this is something, unless we have some kind of tarbiyah, even in children, you see how they are proud. They even say, "Oh, my father is bigger than your father, stronger than your father. My house is bigger than this. My toy is like this." So it's something that we are born with, and we are going to learn how to use it in a useful way. Otherwise, it can lead us to delusion. So what if my house is bigger than yours? Who I am doesn't change because of my house, unless I already have made that choice to be grateful, and so everything becomes an excuse for me to be grateful. But if I am in that state of being, I don't boast and show off about a possession. And even if it's taken from me and given a smaller or a lesser possession, a lesser house or anything, it wouldn't change my life in its inner sense, because the house itself does not bring me that peace. It is when I use it as a means to connect to my Rabb. And if I use it as a means to connect to my Rabb, in any case, it is light. And if it is even nicer, it is light upon light, nurun ala nur. But it can't be because of the house I'm grateful, so therefore if I don't have a house, I'm not going to be grateful. Then I got everything upside down. When I'm grateful, then everything becomes, or when I have the intention to be grateful, then everything becomes a means to be grateful. Even I don't have to wait for the house. Just right now, I am being given life, without which the house or anything will have no meaning. So let's start from there. So,
or another small note here, like we don't have to own something to enjoy it. Like for some reason, if the tree is in my yard, oh my God, this is my tree. But like if it is in somebody else's garden, it's a beautiful tree or it's a beautiful scenery. It doesn't have to be yours, or it doesn't have to be your house looking onto that scene for you to enjoy it. You can pass by it and stop and see and be grateful.
Actually, if it's a borrowed, they call it borrowed landscape, like it's your neighbors, or last weekend we were in a place. So this is this beautiful center with beautiful gardens and everything. And on one side, all along, there were houses that looked onto that place. So for them, it's a borrowed, let's say, landscape. But they enjoy it even more because they don't even have to take care of it. I thought, isn't that a ni'mah? You have this nice view, but you don't even have to take care of it. Because if it's yours, you have to also take care of it. So it's actually easier, as you said. We don't have to have it.
But if you focus on boundaries, like my boundary, this scenery is beyond my boundary, it's not mine, and so on, we lose really its distraction and obsession.
Yeah. So it distracts us from what we already have.
Dr. Yamina, I have one question regarding Takathur. You know, you said Takathur means abundance, right?
In the sense of plenty, a lot.
So why does the translation here talks about competition?
Oh no, sorry, not Takathur. Kathara, the root means plenty, a lot, like kathir.
Yeah, kathir, right.
But Takathur means a desire to have a lot, competing in amassing, in getting a lot, showing pride in getting a lot, in having a lot.
It's a verbal noun. What is it? At-Takathur is the root word is kathara, and then so it's a desire. Just adding ta to it becomes a desire.
And also the color changes, right? I mean, tafa'ala, it becomes a new form.
Yeah, it's tafa'ul.
Tafa'ul.
So why would we desire for a lot, and we compete in amassing a lot, and once we get it, we look at each other and say, I have more than you, and if you have more than me, that's it. I have to start all again, go again and get more. That means underneath, I believe that quantity matters, that the thing in themselves, the stuff that I am piling up, that I am amassing, whether material or immaterial, whether wealth or information or status or whatever, it means that I believe that it is going to, I'm expecting something from it. It's going to give me something in itself. And so I have this desire, and I'm almost like an obsession for more. That's why it distracts me from the reality, because the reality is that thing in itself is fani. Even knowledge, I can forget it. Itself is knowledge, is immaterial. Even if I don't forget, I will die. When I die, it's gone. That's it. So what if everyone behind me writes, she had this, she knew this or that? So that obsession distracts us from, it means it distracts us because we are already, it means also distracted. It works both ways from the reality. The reality is that whether I have 1 car or 10 cars or no car, it's not going to make me happier. It may make my life easier, but the fact that I have 10 is not going to make my life easier because I can use only one at one time.
So it will make it more difficult to maintain them, you know.
Yeah, but like what matters here is that I'm expecting something from it. I'm showing up. I have 10 cars in sitting with 10 cars, maybe not reasonable. Let's say 3 cars in front of my house, and so each time I check, is the neighbor looking? Are they aware? Or is my car is newer than your car? It means I'm expecting something. I believe that if the car is newer or more expensive or something, it's going to add something to me. It's going to bring me some benefit. Whereas we talked about it before as well. Yes, it's going to bring even the benefit it brings me. If I take about like food, I need the food. Like the car, I can live without a car. Especially like if
you can't.
If you live in New York, you live without a car. Even here, you can find other ways of doing it. But like even food, can you live without air? I'm giving an example on purpose. I can't live without air, but does it mean that air is what is sustaining my life? That's the important thing. Being aware that someone is sustaining me with this air, is sustaining my breathing and my life with this air. Because air itself, water itself, they are lifeless. They can't do anything. Subhanallah, with lifeless water, Allah gives life to everything. With air, He's breathing life into all living beings. Subhanallah. So air, it doesn't mean that we're not going to breathe because air is not important. But air becomes an area, becomes like what makes us realize who is giving us life, who is sustaining us with this ni'mah, this blessing. And so we won't be obsessed with the thing itself. And our focus, our istiqamah won't be the thing itself. We will be focused on what is beyond it, what it is telling us. We will realize that it is here, it is bearing messages from the unseen, from our Rabb. And so the focus completely changes, not the thing itself, but what the thing is telling us about. We start listening to it. And so that desire to have more completely in itself, I don't have to like sit and convince myself there is no need to have more, although I'm burning to have more. No. When I understand the reality that itself is not doing something to me, then I start asking questions. So what is it? Who is sustaining my life with air and water and food? And then I start looking at the air, how, or like water, we talked about water a lot, how it is used in all living things. It can't be a God itself. It can't be sustaining everything. So whoever is sustaining me with this water is the sustainer of all beings, because I see they all need water like me. And so I get to know my Rabb. And so when I see water, I rejoice because I see something like reflecting the rahmah, reflecting the compassion, the generosity, the life, but not water for itself, because water for itself, as it says in the ayah in Akhirah, they will be given, they will drink and drink and drink, and their thirst won't be satisfied, because water itself cannot satisfy my thirst. It doesn't know what to do. It itself is created. لا يخلقون شيئا وهم يخلقون. It cannot create anything because it itself is being created. It itself is being maintained and sustained into being. So that my relationship and connection with the world, with the ni'mah, with the blessings, changes. And so it's not about amassing them, but it's about relating to them, listening to their messages, making tasbih, glorifying our Rabb all together with them. You glorify God with the water, with drinking water, because if I never drank it, if there was no need for water, water wouldn't mean anything to me. It wouldn't mean what it means now to me. So it's water is not only sitting out there, but the ayah is my interaction with it, in my needing it, in my life being sustained through it. So that in that, the divine names start showing up. I see the generosity, the giving of life, the sustaining, and I get to know my Rabb together with water. So water becomes a friend, becomes an ayah, becomes a messenger from my Rabb. And so I'm not distracted. The water was not meant to distract me, and then I'm not distracted with water. On the contrary, it becomes a mean for remembrance. And so we get now the answer to distracted from what? Because it's not saying in the ayah before in Surah al-Munafiqun, it says لا تلهيكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله, from. So your wealth and children do not, well, let not your wealth and children distract you from تلهيكم عن ذكر الله, from the remembrance of God. And here there is no an, there is no from, which is also a style that is used in the Quran. This itlaq, this leaving it open, is an invitation without any specific answer. It's an invitation to reflect. So it's also open to many different answers, and the answers should not contradict each other. They should complete and corroborate each other. And right after ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر, until you visited.
Dr. Yamina,
yes. Sorry
to interrupt, but I just wanted to share one of very beautiful verses regarding at-Takathur. It's in the Hadith. It says, "A'lamu inna al-hayata dunya la'ibun wa lahu wa zinatu wa tafakhur bainakum wa takathur fil amwal wal aulad." Right? So there's another point we can learn from this verse. I'll read the translation, which says, "You should know that the life of this world is only play and amusement, a show and boasting among yourselves, a quest for greater riches and more children. Its similitude is that of vegetation that flourish after rain, the growth which delights the tillers, then it withers, and you see it turn yellow, soon it becomes dry and crumbles away. In the hereafter, there will be either severe punishment or forgiveness from Allah and His good pleasure. The life of this world is nothing but illusion." So there's another point that even if we have these things, we enjoy, but there's no permanency to it, you know?
Yes, exactly, and that's exactly what the second ayah is saying. حتى زرتم المقابر, until you visit your slumber. It's a different way of saying until you die, and of course it's because it's an ayah and it's using metaphorical language. It's not the only implied meaning. There are other possible implied meanings as well, but the most important here is until you die, which means you wake up from your slumber, your sleep. Very soon you will come to understand. When you visit the grave, you will come to understand. So for sure, ثم كلا سوف تعلمون. When it says سوف, it means it's very soon, coming in the future, but very soon. For sure, very soon you will come to understand. Thumma is again saying it for sure and again, repetition. It's a very strong warning. Why twice? Because the audience is totally deluded and distracted. When you're hoping for something from things themselves, I mean, it's a very pathetic and hopeless case. That's why the warning is repeated twice. كلا سوف تعلمون, like you will very soon come, you will understand, you will come to know very soon, for sure. Again, I'm telling you again, you will understand very soon. Very soon. When we visit the grave, when we hit the grave, but that time will be too late. So this is an invitation to wake up now. Yes?
Yeah. Just a grammar question, Sister Yamina. سوف تعلمون, it says, it doesn't say ستعلمون, so I thought it's more like eventually you will understand.
ستعلمون has more time lapse. سوف gives it, makes it, there is two things. Surely it will happen, no question about it, plus it is sooner.
Nothing, sorry to I'm talking too much today, but my husband, 5 minutes before your class, I was talking to my husband from Pakistan, and he was giving me details how he just came back from lifting his father into the grave. He had to go in the grave himself and then lift him down, I can't believe this, It's so real, it's so raw for me right now. But it's reality, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and it couldn't be, this verse, I didn't know we are going to do this, and I just 5 minutes before, it's what a coincidence. It's like
it is the reality, as you're saying. And usually because it's not within the scope of our perception, when it happens, it's even more, it's like al-qari'ah. It's like shocking, scary things, but in fact, it is the reality. And then it says, كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين. And if you could understand, if you could but know with the knowledge of certainty, it means you're sure. Certainty, yaqeen here is you are convinced, you are sure. It's more than iman. It's like there is no doubt at all. You would indeed most surely behold the blazing fire, which means the blazing fire that you are now. If I am seeking or hoping for help from things like me, created things like me, I mean, if I see the reality of what I'm doing, that's the fire itself, because it will lead nowhere. There is no after. There is no lastingness. Everything is, what I'm holding on is like a mirage, like an illusion. There's nothing to hold on, nothing solid, because what is solid, what is eternal, what is permanent is what looks to wajhullah. And when I am stuck in the things itself, it means I am totally unaware or totally distracted. Even if I'm aware, but that time I'm distracted from it. And what I'm holding on, it will be like fire, because I will realize that I wasted all my life. And actually, lahu is in one sense also waste of time. Amusement, entertainment, in the sense of wasting time. Waste is also one of the meanings. And then he says, ثُمَّ لَتَرَوَنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. Then you would know. So it says, لَتَرَوَنَّ الْجَحِيمِ, you will see the blazing fire, and you will behold it, that fire, with the eye of certainty. It means the certainty of seeing it. You will see it. It's not like you just know about it. ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. And on that day, you will most surely be called to account. You will be questioned about the constant blessings of life. Which means like that constant flow of ni'mah We will be asked about them because they were given to us to know our Rabb, to remember Him, to praise Him, to be grateful to Him. But while we use the same blessings to distract ourselves from that reality. And the key here is again death. So when are we going to realize all this reality? Is when we come face to face with death. Do we have to wait until the day of our death? Then there will be no use of being warned right now. We don't have to be warned because actually right now everything is passing. Everything is leaving. What was here 1 year ago is not here anymore. What was here last week is not here anymore. What was here this morning or 1 hour ago is not here anymore. Everything is completely, constantly flowing. Actually, we think of our life when we make plans and things as something static, as solid, and our days as something solid here, 1 box, 2 box, 3, like blocks. But actually, it is something very fluid, something always flowing. And so we'd better keep this in mind, or, you know, that death being the wake-up call, which means let's intend to stop, because we think I should remember that everything is passing. But the reality is, I should intend to stop avoiding that reality, because that reality is there in front of me. Everything is passing all the time. My child is growing in front of me. The seasons are changing all the time. So it's not like it's difficult to remember. It's so easy actually to remember that we avoid it. Why do I avoid it? Because I never stopped and asked about the meaning of everything being passing and impermanent and transient and dying. When I don't know the meaning, I find it painful, and so I run away from it. So this is good news. The good news is, if I only stop to busy myself, avoid the reality, I will be in the reality. How am I going to stand that reality? That's what the Quran is teaching me. Because why we avoid that reality? Because we see the fire that all my life, my goal in life is actually zero. All what I'm amassing, it amounts to zero at the end. They all pass away, and there is nothing I can rely on, and nothing that can support anything meaningful in my life. But that fire is the fire that comes from my delusion. But if I stop and question my purpose in life, then I will find a worthwhile purpose, a purpose that looks to Akhirah, a purpose that looks to Alim al-Ghaib, here and now. And so I won't be interested in amassing things anymore. The whole meaning of life is going to change. The meaning of my daily activity is going to change. Connecting to the divine names, reflecting them in my life, living in the name of God, in the name of the merciful, in the name of the generous, in the name of the giver, remember giving, the name of God, is going to be my goal in life. And then the reality that the world is constantly flowing won't be painful, it won't be fire, it will be good news. It will be a reminder of my Rabb. It will be a reminder that we are on a journey and that we are going to Him, to His house, closer, even closer to Him. So it will be rewarding and good news in this world and in the next, because there is no good news in this world without the next. So it's good that the reality that everything is passing is so obvious. And so there is, now we only have to intend to stop avoiding it, because it's not painful as we thought it was. And we are dying, and so is everything. We are dying, I don't mean in 20 years, 10 years, whatever. We are right now. We are being given life all the time. It's being sustained. That means that dying here just means that it's not here. The past is already gone somewhere else. And so dying also becomes, will have another coming. It won't mean the end of everything. Because if I live in the name of God, if I uphold that connection with my Rabb, everything will become a means to remind me of that connection. And so dying will be just coming into this world and leaving this world, but I will be aware that they are coming from Alam al-Ghaib and going there. And so nothing, from the perspective of looking to their Rabb, to Wajhillah, everything is always there. And so dying itself becomes that flow of everything, becomes itself an ayah. And so I will stop and ask, what does it mean? What is this reality? It is an ayah to what truths? And so we need to constantly reflect on the implication of this reality. And so today, I would like us to imagine, we first imagined that we were going to die in 6 months. Then last week, I asked you to imagine that you were going to die in a week time. And today I would like us to imagine that we are sure we received the news, that we know we are dying tomorrow. How do you feel? What do you think? What do you do? You are dying tomorrow at this time. And of course, you will find out the answer. Would we be distracted by Takathur? Will we still be amassing things and competing with each other and showing off? And will our focus be in the things themselves? So this is an invitation now. Imagine you're dying tomorrow. How do you feel? What do you think? What thoughts come to you? What would you like to do? And it's totally possible, right? That we may die tomorrow.
I have two images that came to my head as you were talking. One of them with the fleeting images, how they should not make us panic, but make us happier about coming closer to the end. It just came to me in my head, like the image of like when I was sitting at the train going to see you in Philadelphia, like, you know, there was all these beautiful sceneries that were passing by quickly, and you know, I enjoyed seeing them, but I knew as they were passing, I'm coming closer to Philadelphia. Like, and when the train would stop, you know, oh, there's a delay, I'm not reaching Philadelphia, like, you know, as fast. But as they're passing, you know that they are, you enjoy them. You don't want to just make the train stop and say, don't move. You know, this is a very beautiful scenery of a body of water. I don't want the train to stop. You're taking it in, enjoying it, and also enjoying that the train is moving because it's taking you to your destination. So that was one image that came to me.
Beautiful metaphor, mashallah.
And the other image was, and the other is like connection with what you're saying, that Allah is telling us, I'm giving you all of these blessings to remind you of me. And if they don't do that, like, you know, this is, then you're hoarding things, and it's against, like, you know, it becomes a nikmah, not a ni'mah. And there's this verse that I've always loved, which is وَلَئِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. And if you're thankful for the ni'am that I'm giving, like, you know, all these ni'am, be grateful, I'm gonna give you more and more. But on the other hand, and this is like really, I always like thought of how strong the contrast is. Like, you know, you think if you're thankful, I'm gonna give you more, and if you're not thankful, I'm not gonna give you. But Allah says, and if you're not thankful, وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ, which is the opposite of being thankful, like you deny that these are from me, like you think of them different way. It's not that I'm not gonna give you more. إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. I'm gonna be, my punishment, watch out for my punishment, and my punishment is severe. It's like, it's either like blessings and being, like getting more blessings, or punishment that is severe, like two opposites. So because to bring this back, yeah.
That says something about the way we've been created. We have not been created neutral. Either when we are grateful, everything is going to increase. Not when we are ungrateful, means we don't see the blessings of blessings, and the true blessing is the blessing within the blessing. The blessing that we are blessed with those blessings, the blessing that we are being taken care of with the blessing. Because the blessing in itself is not a big deal. That's the least Takathur.
Dr. Yamina, sorry I wasn't there last week. What the question was, that if we are to die tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we are to die tomorrow, what would you feel and think right now?
I will do dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, you know, He forgives all my sins and actually bury them down in the mud.
Yes.
And you know, give me and in the end able to say La ilaha illallah and save me from the sakrat al-maut, and then the azab al-khabar, and then you know, and go on the full sirat very fast, inshallah, ameen, and reach the Hawz Kauthar, and, you know, very little hisab or no hisab, and to Jannatul Firdaus. That would be my dua.
So you will pray and ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
Yes.
There's no other way, because I know after my death, I know I will still regret. I regret now that I haven't done my best, and that it's totally on Allah's mercy that, you know, we will make it to heaven, into paradise, inshallah. But like the Quran says, we haven't known the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Notice when we are doing these things, when I say I'm going to ask for forgiveness, it means I am not worried about so many things. It reminds me of Yusuf alayhi salam. In Surah Yusuf, in the beginning, when we first read it, when it said that Yusuf alayhi salam is a muhsin, the first time we read it, we said, how is he muhsin? He didn't do anything. Like, he is like only passive. He's being taken from one place to another. Things are happening to him. How is he a muhsin? And then that made us go back and re-listen to what the story was telling us. And we realized that if I were in that situation, put in the being thrown in the well, in the darkness, and I'm left on my own, and it's dark, and what would I be doing? There will be lots of things that I will be doing that Yusuf alayhi salam was not doing. So here, when we say I will ask for forgiveness, I will be more present and more anticipating of where I am going, rather than trying to hold on what is in here. There is also some things that I am not doing that usually I am busy with. And that's what matters. That ihsan, that being in the presence of the of our Rabb, that we are told, for instance, in Surah Yusuf, he's there, but he's not shouting, he's not screaming, he's not crying, he's not complaining. He's for years in jail. He is not complaining, he's not. So all the things that he's not doing also, that's something that I need to focus on. When I am asking for forgiveness, if I'm dying for tomorrow, first thing is I'll probably also ask for forgiveness. And meanwhile, I am not busy or worried about so many other things that I may be busy with normally. And that's what we want to have, that balance. Yes, we live in the world, but always live as though you were going to die tomorrow, because we know whenever we go to sleep, we make shahada and we know that we may not wake up in the morning, right? It's like sleep is like the sibling of death.
Yeah.
A mini death for us. It's a reminder, it's an ayah. It doesn't mean that people die only during sleep. It's only like a reminder. We can leave this world anytime. Anyone wants to share something else?
Yes, I'm still stuck with the metaphor of the train. If you like a scenery, if you like a place, you can come off the train at one stop, visit it, but at the end you know that you are taking this train, like, to a destination, like, and when you're visiting that you're just visiting, like that it's just a visit. So you don't get
invested. You don't
metaphor of like, it has to be my border, like I need to own this city, I need to own this this scenery. No, you just are happy about it, you visit, you enjoy it, and then you go on the train again. So.
You don't say, let me
buy all the
work hard because I need to make buildings here and everything. This is my destination as though. It reminded me of someone. This is many years ago. This lady was knew that she was going to die in a few weeks. They gave her a few weeks. And because she never lived, although she was someone who prayed, but she never lived with awareness, subhanallah. At the moment that she learned, she went out to the hospital and that's it. It was terminal cancer and they gave her a few weeks. The first thing was cleaning the house. And at the end, she was very weak. She couldn't clean more. The daughter who told us all this, she asked the daughter they wanted to read the Quran with her. I think she was saying, yes, but the curtains, I haven't cleaned the curtains yet. And they were saying, who cares about the curtains now? She was saying, when people come for the funerals, they shouldn't say like her curtains were not clean, were dirty. And like the people who were around her just cried that the daughter was someone who came to the halakas, because she said, like, people know that you were in the hospital, people know. Who would care about the curtains? If someone is so cruel and mean and narrow-minded that they will come and check the house, it's their problem. But she said because she lived all her life like this, you couldn't convince her on her deathbed. So istighfar is really something we need to cling on and do all the time, and remember this all the time, because it doesn't happen suddenly that day when you learn it. And probably it was also a way of escaping. It was like she was almost like in denial, right? I don't think it was really truly about the curtains. The curtains were a way to hold on something, to avoid
to numb the pain.
Yeah, and that's what we do all the time. You know, that takathur, that holding on to things, is numbing the pain of feeling like lost in the world as an orphan alien without anything to support us, anything to hold on to. When we are unaware of who we are, and that yes, we are vulnerable, yes, there are many needs, but at the same time, all those needs are being taken care of. So when we don't stop with our and stay with those needs, and then realize that yes, I have needs, but everything is being taken care of, who is taking care of me? Because I don't take that step, then I remain in that fear and that pain, and to the end, subhanallah, even when I say I am doing the 5 daily prayers, but if I never was present, never lived with ihsan in the presence of my Rabb, then it won't help me very much. So this surah is telling us to do this right now. And if we do it right now, we will realize that all our takathur, all the things that we are amassing in themselves, for themselves, when they are disconnected, when we are not aware they are means to remember God, then they will see in themselves not only they are nothing, but they are fire, like the other ayah that Alia just mentioned, is like, it's not neutral. لئن شكرتم لأزيدنكم ولئن كفرتم إن عذابي لشديد. So when we use everything, when we are aware that everything is an ayah, everything becomes a means to remember God. They are the signposts leading us to our Rabb, leading us to that alam al-Isma al-Husna, to that the heavens of, they become like a burak, like the means to ascend to those higher meanings. But when we are not there, it's not like there is nothing in between. It becomes our fire, because in themselves, if we cling on to them in themselves without meanings, when we stop and actually look at it, and we see the reality, when we are in front of the grave, when we realize that everything, we will die, we are dying, they are dying, then it burns our hearts, because the human heart has been created to long for eternal happiness, eternal compassion, eternal justice, for its Rabb. Only with the remembrance of God do hearts find their peace and tranquility, and they are satisfied. Anything else cannot satisfy the human heart, because it is perishing, it is passing. Also in itself, it cannot sustain itself, it doesn't exist in itself, it is given existence. It is only like the reflection in the mirror. If there is nothing to be reflected, you realize that there is nothing actually. It's empty.
Also, Dr. Yamina, Prophet ﷺ had taught us to pray this dua that, make us die on our best deed.
Sorry, make us
die on our best deed. The last deed that we do is the best that Allah recognizes it. We mess up at every level. I mean, sometimes I think like we are like the 2-year-old kids, who mess up everything, and after messing up, they want their mother to clean up the mess, So it's the same, we are so weak. Right now, there's, like you said, at the time of death, there are some things we should ask for and we are not. So that's also messing up because of the lack of knowledge and all that. So that's why I'm saying that we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that sometimes we don't even know how much we have messed up, to say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us. And
so the choice we have now, before we will learn accordingly, because learning is not only the information and the knowledge, but it only matters when it becomes certainty. That's only when it. That's why here it says when you face death until you die, until you visit the graves, then for sure you will come to understand. And then it says, if you could but understand with the knowledge of certainty, when you are convinced, then you would indeed most surely behold the blazing fire. And in the end, you will indeed most surely behold it with the eye of certainty. Because otherwise, just knowing is not enough. And in order for that to happen, right now, this surah is inviting us to make a choice. Are we going to remain, to delude ourselves to the end? Or do we choose to wake up here and now? Are we going to wait until the death calls upon us and there is no way to go back? We can't be who we are not in that moment. Or do we choose to wake up here and now, to realize that we are dying now, everything is passing now. Stay with that reality. Wait for the messages that are sent with that reality. Accept, not only know, but also accept our vulnerability. And then you will realize that it is our vulnerability, our needs are something, the best thing that could happen to us. It's what makes us human beings. It's what makes us get to know our Rabb. It's what makes us appreciate everything around us as ni'mah, and therefore find the mun'im, the provider of the ni'mah. So need and having needs is not something to run away from.
And also, just to add, in our newsletter sent yesterday, there was a reference for about Ramadan fast being an opportunity to live with the intention, because in that person's the example Yamina gave about the person who's trying to still wash the curtains and look good to her neighbors who might judge her after her death. We do this so often. It's a very symbolic representation of how we oftentimes try to see our value, try to see the meaning through other people's eyes. That if so and so thinks good of me, so and so is impressed by me or my house and by this, that, then that gives some meaning. And it doesn't actually. It's just it's like a mirage. We keep trying to look at our lives through other people's eyes. And Ramadan is a time, inshallah, an opportunity to kind of shift that, because it is an act of worship. Unlike the daily prayer, it's not visible. When you're fasting, it's not visible to anybody except your creator. Even you look tired and everything. Who knows if you sipped something or if you didn't sip something? Nobody knows. And there's something beautiful about not kind of trying to look tired and so on. It's really about an inner worship, that I am not eating, and I am not eating for you, because of following your guidance and your command. And inshallah, we can nurture that attitude of we want to be seen, and we're using it on other creatures like us. I'm trying to impress my neighbor, and my neighbor is trying to impress me, and we're both fragile, and we're all in this in the same boat of finitude and weakness. So inshallah, we can also take Ramadan as an opportunity, if we are able to fast, as an opportunity to really highlight. And if we go to Tarawih, or if we do spend time with the Quran, it's really for his sake. So there's no point in saying how many Tarawih I made to somebody else. I don't have to tell somebody how many tarawis I was able to make or how much I was able to read from the Quran. It's really not about other people seeing me or hearing about what I do. It's really me before my Rabb. Just as a note.
So for his sake is truly, actually, it is for my sake. It is for praising him, being grateful to him, reminding myself of who truly I am. Because for his sake, I'm just wanted to be understood properly. It's not like I'm doing something for God, hasha. I cannot do anything. Even being grateful to him is my need. I need to remember that I'm being taken care of. And so during Ramadan, even if we don't get hungry, because someone asked, what if we don't get hungry? Like during Ramadan, you eat well in the evening, for instance. So how do you get to experience our vulnerability and how much we depend on other beings? And the point here is not only that you may not get hungry, that's not the point. During Ramadan is we cannot eat, full stop. I cannot eat although the food is there in front of me. And so the action of eating is suspended. That itself is a powerful reminder that I am here a guest. You know, when you are a guest in somewhere, you don't just go around and help yourself. And you wait. When you are an honored guest, you've been called, invited for dinner. You don't just come in the house and start eating. You wait until you are asked to, okay, let's start. And here we wait for the adhan. And so we remember that we are here, not the true owners. Even in my own home, I am a guest. I am not the true owner. Everything is a trust to me. And I'm using them as a gift in the name of the true owner. That's in one sense, the sense of Khalifa, using it on his behalf. And so we need to follow the adab of being in the presence of our host. And here, because the host is the divine host, is our Rabb, I follow the adab of being in the presence of my Rabb, even when I am alone in my home, when I think I'm alone in my home. The adab of my thoughts being cleaned up, my feelings, everything. Like everything is going to be aligned with the reality that La ilaha illallah. There is nothing worth worshipping except him. He is the only sustainer, the only owner, the only provider, the only giver. And so it's not only the hunger, but also that the adab of waiting to eat at a certain time is also a very powerful reminder. And so that's why the month of fasting, the month of Ramadan, is so important in that sense, because it's a renewal of remembering again who we are and in whose presence we live. It's a month of renewal of ihsan as well, living in the world with ihsan, inshallah. And so this surah is reminding us that being stuck in the world, in things for the world for itself, things for themselves, is due to the delusion that things themselves help us fulfill our needs and brings us happiness or health or whatever, peace or whatever. And because of that delusion, that unquestioned belief, we are distracted with the perishing from the permanent. We are distracted with the the aspect of things that look to themselves from the aspect of things that look to their Rabb, from Wajhillah. And as a result, we are distracted from all that looks and pertains to the divine names and to Akhirah. And we're distracted and stuck in the lower dunya, in the part, the fani, that perishing, the thing of side of the world. And this reflects on who we become, our thoughts, our plans, our choices, our feelings, our emotions, our words, our attachments in life, our deeds. And all this will take us away from the straight path, the path of the husna, the most beautiful, the path of praising God and gratitude, and will take us to al-adab al-shadid, the intense, or it says here, the blazing fire, al-jahim. al-jahim. So inshallah, this is an opportunity for us to again remember that everything is passing, that death is very close. As it says here, the way it's used, the word used is also very important. It says, كلا ستعلمون ثم كلا ستعلمون. كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون. I was thinking sofa, not science. كلا سوف تعلمون. But sofa, you will indeed very soon know. And the moment we stop and say, yes, I could die any time, everything is passing anyway, then we will understand. We will understand that that way of amassing and being stuck in the world for itself, in Anya's metaphor of the train, going, seeing a nice view and say, I'll build a house here, I'll stay here, and then in the next one, and never forgetting that you have a destination, then it becomes fire. Because only that destination is the purpose of our creation. Purpose of creation is not, as we always say, it's not only that God said so, therefore it is so. God saying so, He's saying is He's creating. So because it's not only that He said so in the Quran, He's telling us. It is also He's telling us this means I created you that way. It means that nothing else will satisfy you except that destination. The destination to Akhirah, the destination to Rabb, the train here is the train of Ubudiyah. Apart from that, you will not find rest. That's how you are created, and that's how we are now. The Quran is like the map of how to navigate in the reality of our reality, the reality of life. And the starting point is to realize that everything is passing and dying, and with it comes everything is fragile and vulnerable. And when we know that and accept it and remain with it, surrender to that reality, then it will open up. We will be ready to receive the light of this guidance. We will be guided to the right way. But if we resist it, there is no way we can understand. If I keep my eyes closed, there is no way I can see the light. So do not think that when we understand, we will surrender. No, to the extent that we surrender, we understood a little bit anyway. So let's surrender to that, and then more and more will come, inshallah. So at least we make the decision and the intention to stop avoiding the reality, our reality. Because taslim, as you say always, surrendering is something that we are created, the fitra is in a state of surrender. When we are not surrendering, when we are resisting, the resisting is something active. We work hard to keep ourselves busy, to avoid the reality. We keep ourselves very busy. We entertain, distract ourselves. We are distracting ourselves all the time. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله العظيم الكريم الرحيم الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ونتوب إليه سبحانه. آمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah, may we be of those who live with that awareness, with ihsan, inshallah, with Islam and Iman and ihsan, inshallah. And may this month of Ramadan be a means for us to make it easier to remember and to readjust our compass and our qibla, inshallah. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Yamina. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and I'm into all of the du'as, and we will have our last Ramadan study next week with another short surah. The following week there will be Eid, so we won't be having a study. So join us, inshallah, next week, and have a beautiful, beautiful week filled with remembrance, inshallah.
And it is Surah Al-Asr, inshallah, Surah 103, the next surah. So if you reflect on it before you come, it may be helpful as well, inshallah. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah khair.